What's up? The other day, I posted a video on making a little natural in like 2 minutes or a minute or whatever it was. It actually, in real time, I sped up a lot of it, and in real time, it took me something in the range of about 15 minutes. And this is what I came up with. Not bad at all, actually. But I'm going to clean it up today, and we're going to attach these tiny little bands, and we're going to shoot some 1/4 inch steel. So let's do it. Whew. So here I started marking the fork where I wanted to sort of trim it down. I did that with a Sharpie marker, and then I'm working my way around the handle section to thin that out first. I go right to the forks to make sure that my forks are even. I like the front and back to be sort of homogeneous, the way that they face the target or face the shooter. And in this case, I put them a little bit backwards. Once I had the general shape done, I took it to the drill press with a little drum wheel on it, and I started smoothing out all the sort of rough edges. That belt sander is pretty hardcore, so I had to go pretty light and make some deeper grooves, so I used a little bit higher grit on the drum wheel here. And I'm just really smoothing it all out before I have to start it on the hand sanding. I take this next part inside with the 220 grit sandpaper. This is a dry paper only, not a wet sand. And I give it a once over. You want it to look pretty smooth, uniform throughout. 220 is going to be all you'll ever need on a natural fork. The natural fork basically is as strong as it's going to be, and it always looks so good as long as most of those deep gouges are out of it. So I like to put the sandpaper flat on a table or the floor or something to really get the bottom of the handle section. And I just kind of go back and forth, turning it a little bit as I go. And then I do the same thing to the fork tips. I get a small section of sandpaper, I put it flat down on the table, and then I take it back and forth quite a bit. It helps to flatten out the tips and make them very uniform. And keep them straight across, so they'll be like basically perfectly perpendicular from one side to the other. Once I've got them where I like them as far as being very straight across, I round off all of my edges. I think naturals look better with a lot less sharpened edges, especially on the handle and the forks. This next part is pretty crucial, actually, to making it look good without having to do too much work. I just spray some rubbing alcohol on the fork and wipe it down with a rag. The rubbing alcohol helps to clean it up quite a bit so I can see what I'm working with, but also the wetness will raise pieces of the grains like little hairs. And when that happens, you can go back over it. You'll be able to knock those hairs down, and it'll make the whole thing a lot smoother in the future. So then I go over it again with the 220, knocking down all those little hairs, making it super smooth again, and you could basically be done with it at this point. It's going to be very, very smooth. So this is what it looks like after sanding it twice with 220 and spraying it down twice with the rubbing alcohol. You can see like the grains raise up when it gets wet, and that actually makes it so much easier to sand. It takes it down really, really quick and nice. So we're going to hit this now with the 320, and then it should be ready for our CA. Now with the 320 sandpaper, I'm just focused on getting any scratches that I can actually see out of it, making it really, really, really nice to hold, smooth. I'm going over it pretty lightly here. There's no need to really go rough with the 320 grit sandpaper. It'll do its job without having to do too much work. And then this is what it looks like without the finish. It's perfectly functional at this point, but I like to use CA. I use the medium viscosity stuff and basically just lay it on pretty thick, rub it in with gloved hands, and that's that. So this is what it looks like when it's done. That is just one layer of CA glue. It's medium viscosity. And no sanding, no buffing, nothing. So it's coated, it's done, it's going to be grippy, it's going to be watertight. It is about all the protection you'll ever need. It's a very inexpensive way to finish off your naturals. If you use the thinner stuff, it soaks in too fast for you to really spread it very quickly, but the thicker gel stuff usually takes somewhere in the range of like a minute to two to fully cure, to where you can just touch it with your hands. And then if you wanted to, you could sand and buff it, although I would recommend putting on quite a few layers if you're going to go that direction. This is where I start to make the band set. This is 2 layers of Simple Shot 0.4 laid on top of each other, end to end, so that they're basically perfectly even. And then the taper that I used is like a 1/2 inch down to about a 1/4 inch size, and they're about 10 inches long. Just doesn't take much band for you to use 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch are going to be zippy pretty much no matter what you use. Alright, got the frame, got a can right there. I'm going to take a few shots using some 1/4 inch steel for this one. Super fun. Oh. I'm using one of these little BB pouches from Simple Shot. I used 0.4 Simple Shot bands. These are tapered from, let's see, about 13 down to about 8 or something like that. They're sending these 1/4 inch really, really fast. With the long draw. And with the 1/4 inch, I'm not even putting holes in that can right now. So I'll be able to shoot at that steel can for hours and hours with these little 1/4 inch balls. Eventually, it'll start to warp and bend up and all that. My dog's a nut. Aren't you, bud? Yeah. Oh, just missed low. I'm tilting my head over though. Anyway, guys, it's my new little natty BB shooter guy. Super quick. Love these things.